The first group of around 50 white South Africans arrived in the United States for resettlement after President Donald Trump granted them refugee status. The small group from South Africa, including children holding small American flags, arrived at the Dulles International Airport outside Washington on a private charter plane, and they were greeted by Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau and the Homeland Security Deputy Secretary Troy Edgar. Now, welcoming the group as refugees, the Trump administration claims that they face discrimination and violence at home.
The president made it clear that Afrikaners in South Africa who were the victims of unjust racial discrimination would be welcome to come to the United States, and he's now delivering on that promise.
So as the first batch of white South Africans arrived in the United States, President Trump claimed that South Africa's leadership was traveling to see him next week.
Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, you know, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And people that live in South Africa, they say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
Now, back in South Africa, Trump's refugee program for white South Africans, called Afrikaners, who are mostly Dutch descendants, has drawn criticism.
I don't believe in running away from problems. You know, we've got a lovely country, and we make it work, and especially Afrikaans people. I think since we came here, we always made it work. It doesn't matter what happened, you know, in the past and so on. We always look up and just make things work. And so my point of leaving South Africa, you know, I've been all over the world and always come back. And this is definitely the country of milk and honey. You know, we're very blessed in South Africa. The lifestyle we're living with all the drama going on, it's still one of the best countries in the world to live in.
America, maybe they can help us one day, but we should be helping ourselves right now. That's the only way. We can't run away from our problems because they will always be there. If you run away, you're just leaving it behind.
Now, South Africa's government has maintained that there is no evidence of persecution against white South Africans, contradicting President Trump's claims of a genocide. The government called them completely false and attributing them to misinformation.
Yep. So you see, MAGA, a movement that is based on America First, that is based on, at least generally speaking, anti-immigration, but even anti-asylum seekers from much of Latin America, from the Middle East, from Africa, from everywhere else. Now, all of a sudden, MAGA is embracing immigration. That's right. Just this week, the Trump administration has granted refugee status to 59 white South Africans. Some of them, and trust me, I've seen these people. These are some of the most obese human beings I've ever seen in my life. I have never seen such healthy-looking victims of genocide in my life. But that's neither here nor there. These people are called Afrikaners. These are the descendants of the Dutch who colonized South Africa hundreds of years ago and sort of imposed their will on the South African people, the actual South African people who actually are from there. And now they are claiming that they are oppressed. Yes. So they have arrived here in the United States on a chartered plane at Dulles International Airport. This move was a part of an executive order signed by President Trump in February 2025, which established an expedited resettlement process for Afrikaners, citing claims of racial persecution and violence in South Africa, particularly tied to a new land expropriation law. Trump and his supporters, including America's favorite South African Nazi, alleged Nazi, Elon Musk, have claimed that white farmers in South Africa face a genocide and land confiscation. But these claims have been widely disputed, and let's just be real, there's no evidence for them. Now, the South African government under President Cyril Ramaphosa has rejected these claims because, you know, they're not true. He is calling the Afrikaners' departure in opposition to policies addressing historical racial inequalities from apartheid. Wouldn't it be something if, like, Trump and the MAGA folks actually decolonized Africa? It'd be hilarious if, like, all the white people, like, finally the white people left Africa alone after all these years of colonization and, you know, hoarding all the wealth and land and resources. Like, it was like, no, you know what? We got to get out of here now. The exact opposite of what, you know, they've been doing all these years. Now, this decision has sparked controversy due to the Trump administration's simultaneous suspension of broader refugee programs, including revoking temporary protected status for Afghans and blocking resettlement from countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, and sub-Saharan Africa. Now, these are countries that we destroyed. We destroyed Afghanistan. We did that. Our government did that. We destroyed Iraq. And obviously, we've helped to destroy sub-Saharan Africa by overthrowing their leaders, assassinating their leaders, whether it was Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara. We helped put Nelson Mandela in prison for 27 years, us and the Israeli Mossad. The United States government has spent the last 80 years fomenting coups and assassinations all over sub-Saharan Africa, destabilizing these countries, making them unlivable, and have used U.S. aid as a Trojan horse to exert control over the policies of these countries. I mean, y'all remember when Obama told them that if they didn't support gay marriage or homosexuality, that he was going to starve them. And I think it was Uganda. That's really what U.S. aid is for. U.S. aid has been about forcing global South countries to do what we want them to do. Culturally, economically, politically, with their resources, whatever. And so we've helped make these countries uninhabitable. We've propped up some of the most brutal, harsh, and corrupt dictators in the world. I think it was Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International, one of those, that found that America was actually propping up 73% of the totalitarian dictatorships in the world currently. Some years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago. And now, the victims of said policies can't come to this country. But you know who can come to this country? Morbidly obese boars. And why? Because somebody made a song called Kill the Boar and hurt somebody's feelings. After generations of colonizing, raping, and pillaging their country, they're upset because somebody made a song. So, the South African government has, and their refugee advocates, also refugee advocates in general, because there's lots of refugees out there, they are arguing that Afrikaners who are some of the most economically privileged people on the planet, do not meet typical refugee criteria, and say that this policy undermines those fleeing war and famine elsewhere. So who does MAGA not want in this country? Well, in Congo, there are 6.1 million people who have been internally displaced due to decades of fighting amongst armed groups and widespread gender-based violence. Well, the Trump administration says, too bad. We don't care if you're from Congo, where we want your $30 trillion of resources, and so we've kept that country destabilized. You can't come here anymore. We talked about earlier, Afghani citizens can't enter the country, despite the continued human rights violations committed by the Taliban, especially against women and girls. Since we have evacuated, withdrew in 2021. In Sudan, you have 8.6 million people who've been displaced in a conflict between military and paramilitary forces. Too bad. So sad. You can't come here. Now, to show you the ridiculousness of the argument that the Afrikaners are oppressed, in South Africa, the typical black household only holds 5% of the wealth of the typical white household. 5% of the typical wealth of the typical white household. Also, there's police data on this. The police data does not show that Afrikaners, many of whom are farmers, are suffering from any disproportionate levels of violence that would amount to genocide. This small percentage of South Africa's population controls the overwhelming majority of the farmland in the country. Now, this has not stopped Elon Musk, who, as I think I reminded you guys a few months ago, I did a story on the true religion of the right wing here in this country, and it is white supremacy. Elon Musk's grandfather was a man named Joshua Haldeman. He was Canadian, and he was a Nazi sympathizer. He was so racist that he could not live out his racist fantasies in Canada, so that's how his family, Elon Musk's family, ended up in South Africa. Joshua Haldeman, his mother's father, was a blatant Nazi apologist back in the 1940s. And he saw South Africa as the continuation of the Nazis' dream under the apartheid government there. So again, that's when you see Elon Musk throwing up the Roman salute. They said it's the Roman salute, but it's really a Nazi salute. He's just living out his family legacy. This is who his people are. And this idea of white genocide and all this other nonsense, again, that's literal propaganda when you consider they own everything and control everything in the country. Now, what is this law that he's crying about? And these Afrikaners, the Boers, what are they crying about? This law, this land reappropriation law, allows the government to seize property without compensation only in limited circumstances, including when the land is not in use or has been abandoned, and if the owner is merely holding it as an investment in the hope that it will appreciate in value. That's it. Now, these people are a lot better than me, Because my stance would be the Boers shouldn't be owning much of anything in South Africa after what they did. I'm not saying you got to go home, but you'd have to get the hell out of here after what you've done for centuries. These are people who cry about poor immigrants coming to Europe who are the victims of generations of destructive policies of the West. Whoa, what are black people doing in Europe? But these people can literally own all the land in South Africa. And people are not supposed to complain about that or do anything about that in countries that are 80, 90% black? Come on, man. Like I said, South African people a lot better than me. We wouldn't just be singing songs. After generations of apartheid, colonization, rape, and plundering. I'd be like, Mugabe, you got 48 hours. That's all I'm giving you. I'm not giving you anything else but 48 hours to vacate the premises. That is it. Now, these Afrikaners, the Boers, are arguing that this law could be used to seize their land against their will, but the government has contested that claim and said that there is no evidence that this is occurring. But once again, it just goes to show you exactly who MAGA is. They're bringing in South Africans. Some of the richest and, if you've seen the pictures, well-fed people in the world. Good God. I saw one of them dudes, his blood type had to be Ragu. Had to be. They not complaining about the 200,000 Ukrainians that came into this country. I wonder why. I wonder why they don't have a problem with Ukrainians coming into the country. Who do they have a problem with coming to the country? Haitians, Mexicans, Hondurans, Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, Venezuelans, Africans, Chinese people. But magically they don't have a problem with Ukrainians and Boers. I wonder why that is. Let me get this caller. Hello, caller. What's up?
Hey, good evening, good man.
It's all good.
I'm telling you, we're laying it out. You're doing it right, man. But
I'll do my best.
Oh, you do past the best, baby. You are the best at what you do. But look, they did a DNA on the Queen. You know the Queen is black. The Queen over there in England?
Mm-hmm.
Black. Oh, so you already heard about the Queen. The Queen is a black woman. Even though she looks white, she got that black DNA. Okay. So you know about that, I guess.
You already know.
Man, let me let you go. I keep telling these people that the Queen is black. Look, man, when Hannibal came out of Africa, came across up now and put all those Europeans, put them all in captivity over there. Hannibal got over there in Europe. Queen black. Look, everybody look white, but Hannibal messed up. I put it like this. Hannibal planted seed with his army very well. You remember Hannibal?
Yeah, I know Hannibal.
Let me alone. So when people start talking about the Queen is this, Queen is that, she's black, okay? That's Hannibal. She belongs to Hannibal. That's his child.
Ooh.
Offspring. Okay, I'm just talking about Hannibal. Okay, baby,
right.
I'm gonna let you go.
All right,
okay,
now.
bye.
That's controversial. That's controversial. All right. I heard you now. One of the funniest things is that all this coincides with this crying about wokeness. There's some crying about Denzel Washington playing a black man in Gladiator, being black in Gladiator. But they've been whitewashing figures for years. Whitewashing. And Hannibal's one of those figures that they've done a good job of whitewashing in world history. along with the Egyptians. Y'all ain't ready for that discussion. But no, our president, Donald John Trump, as the courts of the United States call him, was not done. Oh no, he just got a new jet from Qatar, or Qatar. I like Qatar because it sounds like guitar, and I'm a music guy. You guys know I love music. I prefer Qatar. And only one person seems to be playing the Qatar, and that is Donald Trump. Because he just basically accepted a Boeing 747 jumbo jet from the Qataris, which is valued at approximately $400 million.
Money, money, money.
Yes, money, money, money. That is some serious dinero. This is to serve as a temporary Air Force One. Now, the plane has been described as a flying palace. Good God. And was offered by the Qatari government as a gesture of goodwill, with the transfer formalized as a donation to the U.S. Department of Defense, which is just a roundabout way of laundering the purchase. Well, this is really through the Department of Defense. Okay. President Trump defended the acceptance and stated that it would be stupid to reject a free plane. My God. Man, the con man it just never stops. Like, some people are just hustlers to their core, and Donald Trump is one of those people. He's just a hustler. Every ounce of him is hustler. It is so hilarious and troubling at the same time. It would be stupid to turn down such a good deal, he said. Emphasizing that it's for government use, not personal gain, and would replace the aging Air Force One fleet until the new Boeing planes are delivered, expected around 2027. After this term, the plane then would be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. So it's the government's now. It's a gift to our government now, but later it will be a part of the Trump Presidential Library. It'll be owned by the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, which means that he will be using this jet if he lives, which I don't think he will. I've said this. I didn't think Trump or Biden would live through this term, whichever one got back in there. But just in case he does live through this next 4 years, he will be flying around in a $400 million jumbo jet that probably has Trump on the side of it. He'll probably get it painted Trump on the side of it at some point, knowing him. And so, again, it goes back to the intro of the show with Minister Farrakhan talking about Donald Trump. Their issue with Donald Trump is that he is just openly corrupt. He is openly corrupt. The Bidens at least tried to hide their corruption with James Biden and Hunter Biden and tried to obscure it. They fired the prosecutor looking into his stuff in Ukraine, and about Hunter's no-show job and the $83,000 a month he was getting. They did it the way you're supposed to do it. I'm holding up quotation marks, folks. There's a way to do corruption, and it is that. You get your son a no-show job for $80,000 a month, and you get to talk to the big guy or whatever. Trump just says, give me the jet. Just give it to me. What's the big deal? And so that sort of describes the Trump experience that we've been living through in this country in a nutshell. He's basically like, hey, whatever. It's my jet. I mean, it's the government's jet, but in a few years it'll be my jet. My foundation's jet. That's right. My foundation's jet. And it'll just have my name on it, and I'll get to fly it wherever I want, whenever I want to. And so you see how this sort of descent into Banana Republic is going. This is the type of stuff you see in supposed third world countries in the global south. But, you know, Donald Trump has always been basically a third world politician, supposedly in the first world. And that's why they have a problem with him. All right, folks. That music means it's time to go for a break. When we get back, is our president really trying to bribe Americans into having more children? We'll find out when we get back. Stay with us here on WLTH 1370 AM. Straight out of the cannon. We'll be right back after these.